We're going live. Let's see. Ah, we're on. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. Good morning. It's amazing how much trouble I have with trying to keep OBS. Something's amiss on my OBS still, and I haven't figured it out yet. All right. Let- Yeah, glad to see you're here. We're back for another one. Today we're going to do this one. Here's the original in my little sketchbook. And this one is just a little random sketch. Since AI has come out, I've been toying with AI as to use it as a what do you call that? A reference, yeah, to use reference photos. So this is I made my own painting, but I used AI. I described a scene to AI, and it gave me some kind of similar to this, and then I went with my own from there. So it's not really an AI painting, and it's not really my painting, and it's not really didn't really exist. But it's a good opportunity to practice trees. So I'm going to do some house cleaning here. We're still camping, and as I'm sure you know have noticed, we have some broadcast issues where a lot of the locations that we're at, the Wi-Fi is intermittent, even though we're using a Starlink system, but there's trees. There's a few trees, as you can see behind me, but and this location has, you can see these bushes back here. These are wild blackberries. We picked tubs of them, 4 tubs of them of old yogurt containers, and the wife made cobbler, blackberry cobbler. It was delicious. Anyway, kind of fun. So, I'm sorry to say we won't be back broadcasting from a stable Wi-Fi for probably another month, month and a half, something like that, maybe a little more. Um, as we're traveling up the coast, this time we're still here in Washington, up at the top of Washington, Washington State. And on our trip home, which will start toward the end of, what is this, September? Toward the end of September, we'll be going through a lot of national forests. So I want to forewarn you that I may miss some broadcasts because I just won't be able to get Wi-Fi. We're not carrying a generator, so the only way I can do this is when the electricity is available. All right, let's get to work. Let's see here. I'm gonna try and get a drawing up there for you. This is this is what we're going to be working on today. And here it comes. Boom. There you go. They're just now take note of the horizon line back there. Okay. You want to put that horizon line like, what do you think that is? Maybe a third the way up. You could put it up a little higher or a little lower, but I suggest around a third the way up. Maybe between a third and a quarter, something like that. So, oh, let's do that first. Let's get do 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 do. Let's do this. Let's everybody get their watercolors. I'm using just this little bucket of water here and put just a drop or two at least. Now my paint is staying very wet because I'm in a humid area. I'm this Washington. It's you can hear the rain right now. It didn't rain. It's just so misty, I guess, because the water's not too far from us, and everything up here. There's islands, and we're up in the top northwest corner of Washington, which is, if you look at it, very islandy, broke up rivers, ocean, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of moisture up here is the point. So my paint hasn't really been drying out. But if you're in New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, maybe some of those uh, states that are locked between mountain ranges, don't get near the moisture that I have been getting here. So you want to make sure that your paints have got some water in them. They're starting to soak. I'm glad you're here, folks. Glad to see you're here. Uh-oh. And it's getting warmer here. So I think we're going to have bugs, like mosquitoes and the like. Let's go ahead. I'm going to get the drawing back up there for you. Let's see here. Landscape, boop. And I'm going to put that up there. There's the drawing up in the corner. Can you see that? If you have a iPhone, you can put your fingers on it and enlarge that drawing. Or you can, if it's on the television, it should be large enough. I think the scan that I did of it is a little vague up in the bushes of the tree there, in the bushy part. Let me get it over there. How's that? You can comment, but also you can comment on the video. This video will stay up for a while on YouTube. When I get back, I'm going to pull some of these down, and because of the poor quality, I'll rework them. But today, I'm going to be using a Lamy Safari, this is called. They're a fairly affordable pen. When I bought this one, they were like 30 bucks, $29. I think they're probably $40 now. I don't know. I like these pens because you can get them with not an ink cartridge, but a refillable, and that thing comes out and you can just put more ink in it. And I go through a lot of ink, but also because that way I can put in the type of ink that I want in there. So the fountain pens that I use all have an insert like that of some kind, so that I can, uh, you know, put in the ink that I want. This happens to be Polar Bear Black, which is archival. It is also dries quickly, so they say. Not quick enough for me, but it does dry pretty quickly. Okay, let's see. If you want to do this, you can see I've got my paper taped down again. I always try to leave like a quarter of an inch reveal on the side so it has an automatic mat to it. But so I'm going to go from here. I am going to go to the bottom of the page. I'm going to say this is where I want my horizon line to be, right about there. And I'm going to mark the piece of paper here so that I can go over here put it in the same location, make a mark, and kind of roughly draw. I'm doing this kind of light because I work with pens. You can do this with pencils or fountain pens if you like. I prefer to draw with fountain pens. Just I like the looseness of it because I don't have the opportunity to erase. All right, so let's go ahead and put in some trees here. Remember to be very loose. Now this one on the left is the closest to us. It's a large in the foreground tree, supposed to be large. So the bottom of it's going to come down in this area, right? That really is one way that shows us that it's the closest to us, is to make it lower than the others. And obviously we're going to go a little higher than the others. When you do these trees, I'm just staying very loose. I'm not trying to copy the one I have there. I just kind of go around and I'm going to go a little bit above the horizon line. Make some holes in there. And then I'm going to say that there's one back here behind this one. And let's see, on the trunks, we want to put some kind of interest. Obviously, we want the trunk to come down here really close. I'm going to put this back one. I guess I got it a little far. Maybe I'll switch it around and put this one down, the closest one. Put a little movement down here. But up here, I want to make some branch so that it's not just the trunk coming up like that. I'll make that one a little wide and maybe make this one come over this way. And then come down a little wide with the bottom, right? You can put more of them. You can put a few more branches in there. You could put one coming off of this if you want. So in reality, there should be at least two of them here. So I'm going to put this one like this, come up here, and I'll put this one a little bit further back. You can see that I changed it from the original. I put the other one closer, and a little bit of some kind of action down here for now. And let's see, I might even make this one just a little bigger, but I think I'll do that when I paint it. Remember to put a few sky holes, and you can add some of those while we're painting as well. And then I'm going to say there's a few trees back here. Now in the original here, you can see I did something that I'm not happy with. I put 2 and 2 and 2 and 2, right? That's not really good. You should have odd numbers so back here, I'm going to put one that is going to come just a little bit lower, and I'm only going to put one, I think, here. Let's see here. And it's a lot smaller, remember, because it's in the back, because it's further away from us. So we have, perspective is involved. And I may just for the fun of it, I'm going to put one here that doesn't really connect to anything. It's hidden. So I did it again. I put one in there. So I better put a little something where, let's say back here. We'll just put the bottom of one like that and some little branch back there. When you do these, you can play with where to put your trees, where the best composition is. These still I'm not happy with because now they're kind of lined up that way. We'll see how yours comes out. Remember, a little bit of sky hole. Okay, moving on. Onto this side, we have another patch of trees here. He's making these outlines of trees since I'm not making a specific type of tree. It's kind of fun because I can be very random, very loose with it. And I'm going to put a smaller tree out here somewhere. And one here. And this time I'm going to change this up a little bit. Let's put this here. Another thing that I did that works out okay, but that I'm going to put this one really close here. And this, let's see, this one out here is so far away that it's really just a little thing down there. We don't really see any detail in it. Hello. Sherry and the dog just baby girl just came back from a walk. Okay, so back here, let's see, is everybody getting the trees in there? Should I give you a minute to get some trees going? This is really just a great opportunity to practice trees. So back here along the horizon line, I put these trees a little closer down, and the way you see things depends on. We'll do a lesson on the horizons, on perspective, but it depends. Watch the back of this pin here. If if the horizon line is here, then your eye would have to be. Let me aim it straight. There you go, right at the camera. You'd have to be exactly at that level. You can make it so that you're looking down a little bit at that, and that would put your horizon line up here higher than your head or down below your head. Let's see if I can do that like that. Your horizon line would be there, and you would be looking through the center of these trees. These trees that I've drawn here are as though I'm standing here, maybe on a slight little bit of a hill, and I'm looking through this part of the tree right here. So I would have liked to do them the way I did them the first time. I left a little bit more space back there, but none of that's a big thing. None of it really. Back here, I'm putting some shrubs or a hedgerow along And it doesn't have to be very serious back here. You can put some shapes that might be another tree way back there. Because the trees are taller than we are, they would get smaller from the top as they go further and further away. They would come down. But I'll explain that at some point in the future when we do a lesson plan on perspective. Sagebrush doodlers or sagebrush sketchers, I'm sure glad you're here. How many, or if any of you, if you're not a member of Urban Sketchers, leave a comment and tell me what you do for practice and fun, or where you sketch, or something to that effect. I am a Urban Sketchers. We were administrators for the Urban Sketchers, but I'm afraid we're on the road too much to be able to do it these days. Okay, I've about got mine. I know I'm going to put some kind of big bushy thing right in here. Maybe it'll come behind the tree there. It might come right in front of this tree, some bush. And I'm going to put a little bit of a road that's coming right around here. And then it curves and it comes down here. And then I'm just going to leave it as a line back there. Then here, it's not necessarily a road, maybe a path or a road. You can put whichever one you want, like that. And we may put some bushes, some little bushes here, and they get bigger as they come over here, right in front of the tree. Right? I'll give everybody a moment or two to get that drawn in there. So everybody got a t-shirt or something, some kind of rag material? They really work well. They're very absorbent, and they seem to work a lot better than just putting paper towels, just using paper towels. I have my morning tea, which I have to be honest, usually by the time we do this, I've had at least one already. Yum. All right, let's see here. The dog was looking at me. I think she thinks I'm talking to her. I'm going to let mine dry up a little bit, and hopefully it dries. We shall see. We shall see. Yeah, the humidity out here. I just was talking about that, but oh my gosh, things take forever to dry. Towels, dish rags, things like that. We're hoping the sun is scheduled to come out today, and and supposed to be sunny for the next like 4 days, and hopefully that'll dry some stuff out. Okay, so this one's from let's see, did I put it? AI coloring, I think it's called. It says, "Why don't eggs tell jokes? Because they might crack up." Oh my gosh. Ouch. Okay, I'm going to give it a try here. Using a Princeton Heritage round, number 12, because I'm going to do a lot up in here. So I want that to have I wanted a bigger brush. You don't have to do it with a big brush. It's just easier for me. And what we're going to do is, if you look, I left some clouds going here. So these white spaces, you can assume that they're cloud. There's some cloud over here. So I'm just going to put some blue in here and try and leave cloud shapes. Maybe a little blue down here. You want to start by mixing a good amount of your cloud color, which I'm just using mostly straight, your sky color, excuse me, ultramarine blue. And you have to remember, we're doing these things like you would do an urban sketch, where a lot of these Sherry and I do out on location, so we're not trying to make amazing high detailed paintings. We're just trying to get a little character into the thing and have a nice memory. So I've got mine a little light, and on the areas where you come all the way in like that, you want to hit there, because let's see here. I'm going to leave some cloud. I made mine pretty light, my sky color. And I'm going to come all the way over here and leave some more cloud like this. Go up here and leave a little cloud. And I'm going to put even lighter sky color down in here. When it's on the trees, you don't have to be too exacting, because we're going to put a lot of dark in those trees down there. So don't worry if you get a little bit over some of the branches there. But do get it down in around those bushes. A little complicated there, isn't it? Get it all in there. And while it's drying, you can dry off your brush. You can leave some softened edges like that, where the clouds in the sky are not so perfectly defined. You can leave sharp edges like this one. You can change the shapes, if you think something's a little too square or misshapen, you can just play with it. It doesn't have to be all completely one dark blue thing, because clouds, there might be mist. So you want to put a little interest in your sky. I think I'll soften this edge up here a little more. So I have some sharp, some soft, and some straight. And then we're going to let this hopefully dry, right? Hope it dries. While that's working, let's see, what can we do? What shall we do? Let's move down, and we're going to put bushes in there, right? I'm moving a little quickly here. I'm going to give you a moment or two to see if you can get your sky in there. Got a little darker than I wanted it right there. Maybe take a little bit off of that one. Okay, let's move on. Let's go ahead and put some land in here, some of the land color. This one's kind of tricky, kind of tough. So what you want to do, you want to change it up a little bit at a time. So one thing you can do is take some yellow ochre and put it over somewhere where you're not going to mess with it. Okay. And of course, you can use the yellows of your choice. I'm going to take a little ultramarine and put it on this side of the palette of this little square. Can everybody see that? Where I'm working there? I've got some yellow ochre over there and I've got some blue here. And I'm going to take a lot of making a mess here of it's either lemon yellow or could be cad yellow light you may have on your palette. That's what I'm using anyway. Make a pretty light green. And I'm going to make a good bit of it. Take your time getting some of that yellow out there. Man, I've really blued mine up quite a bit. And then take some of that. And we don't want to hit the sky because it'll bleed right in there. But since we're putting some bushes in, we can stay down low. And mine is still a little too blue. I'm going to grab some more yellow. And just going to keep going along in here back over the road. Right there, right there. Right to the bottom of those bushes that you're going to put in. And find a convenient place to stop right there by that tree right there. And you can put in some other things while you're doing this. I'll show you here in just a moment. I continue to lighten mine up a little. I'm going to pull a little bit out of some of these areas. But you may have to work a little faster than I am because, like I say, my stuff stays wet quite a while where I'm at. When you're doing this, though, it's perfectly okay to take just a little bit of either you can take that yellow ochre that you had and put in a few something or other. See how the color is changing? And I'm going to make it come kind of in a line like this. I want to keep things moving to where it kind of suggests for the viewer's eye to go into the painting. I'm going to put a little bit of that same thing over here. And let's see, I'm going to put about a little bit over here. We'll put some this area. It's a little dark. So I'll lighten that up a little bit. And some of these are going to disappear we're going to make shadows. So what you want though is just some variations so your grass is not all just one color. You can add just a hair of blue, maybe make it a little darker or a little lighter. You can, if you're urban sketching, you can just uh, leave it rough at the bottom. You don't have to color the whole thing in. Some people like to do that. I do it a lot. I'm going to make this a little bit darker. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of sap green to my mix now down here. And maybe a little bit here. Not too much. We don't want it to be too dark because we're going to put some dark things in here. Trees, shadows, things like that. Hmm. Is everybody getting some grass in there? Hello, Sherry. I'm glad you joined. Nice to see a comment there. Let's get rid of a few of the little white spikes or specks. Okay. Oh, the sun is coming out here. It was really foggy when I started, but it's starting to get pretty bright, sunny. We are at, it's called Thousand Trails, uh, something. I'll think about it. It's one of the thousand trails in Washington. Maybe it'll come to me. Okay, hopefully your sky is starting to dry up. We're going to move back up. We keep moving back and forth when you don't want things to mix. Some of the paintings we're going to do, we're just going to put a background in here, come all the way down, change colors, and let it go all the way. Oh, Mount Vernon is the name of it. Thank you. And and we'll come all the way down. It's another technique, but we're not doing that on this one. So let's get to look at the trees here for a few minutes. Hopefully your sky is dry enough that we can do that. We're going to paint the trees as though the sun were shining from the left. The sun is coming this way because we want the shadows to go this way. We want the shadows going down here. And so we're going to make the left-hand side of the trees the lighter portion and the right-hand side the darker part of the foliage. Okay? So let's get some, well, first thing we want to do is make some light mix. I'm going to take some of my sap green. You can, if you'd like, you can use ultramarine blue, and cad yellow makes a kind of a khaki green, or you can make it slightly bluer. There's a lot of trees that aren't, that are more deciduous, and they are blue with lemon yellow. You can go that route if you want to, but I'm going to stick mostly with the sap green, azo green, and slightly khaki. You can look at the trees in your area and see there's so many different colors of trees. Here, oh my gosh, there's evergreens here that I would have never, I don't know anything about them. I just, I need to. In fact, that's a good idea this week. Maybe I'll spend some time trying to either paint some of the trees here and learn their names. Okay, I have a semi-light green here. It's not quite the same as the one I did there. And you can see that some of my blue is still a little damp. So it's going to fade into it. And that's not a terrible thing. You know, trees are get soft around the edges sometimes when you're looking at them from a distance. You can make yours a little lighter even than I made this one. But I'm going to go ahead and keep going with it because mine is just going to be damp. My color, though, is a little dark. So all we're going to do is take a little bit of that kitchen towel and just kind of gently go around the edge here, lightening some of it up. I'm going to come back with a little lemon yellow in that area. Put a little more lemon yellow in my mixture. Make it a little warmer. And while that's, there you go. I did take out one of my sky holes, which I don't care for. I don't like that. I don't like that I did that, so I'll try and get it there. Leave a sky hole there. And now I'm going to put just a touch of ultramarine blue in my mix. You can put just ever so little bit. Be careful with that because it really turns it brown. I put burnt umber in there, a little more ultramarine blue. I'm trying to make a shadow color that leans to the cool side. And so I'm going to go ahead and come in here and just put some darker areas here. And across the bottom maybe. And you can put a little bit in areas because the shadows wouldn't only be across the bottom. You don't have to do it evenly. It wouldn't be a straight line. Just kind of, if you watch how I'm doing it in my brush, just randomly throwing stuff in there. But a good portion of the right side is going to have shadow on it. And some of these sky holes will have shadow on the top left, if that makes sense to you. If the sun is coming this way, then this would have shadow in it. I think I'll do a similar color here, so I'm going to go back to a light color, adding a lot of lemon yellow or cad yellow light, or whatever your light yellow is. Now you have to be careful because there's something we have not talked about. I haven't done a class on it. But you really need to practice with your mixing your greens because each of the yellows they can have a bias to one side or the other. So lemon yellow, we'll talk more about bias and about cool and warm, but lemon yellow tends to work well for making greens with ultramarine blue, and it makes a more of an eastern kind of a green, or a kind of green that deciduous trees are, whereas the cad yellow deep or cadmium yellow, I'm going to put some of this light color in here all the way down as though the sun were creeping through these two trees, right? And you don't have to perfectly mimic your lines either. You can come out, you can break the rules, you can put a couple of little dots like the branches or the leaves are out here. Right? So in mixing your greens, you have to be careful because if you mix this one, cadmium yellow deep with ultramarine blue, it makes a much khackier look of a green. than if you mix lemon yellow, because the cad yellow medium or cad yellow deep has a kind of a red bias in it. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put, but that's a thing for another class. I'm going to go back the other way with my mixture. Here I go. I'm putting in some of the sap green and going back with a little ultramarine blue and making myself a just bluish shadow color. And I'm going to come in here and put some shadow. I might even come, this one's still damp on mine, so I'm going to put a little darker areas here. Dankeschön. Anybody remember that song? Dankeschön. Thankfully, that movie we watched 2 weeks ago now, Bette Midler, and I was telling you last week that I got an earwig. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to say. Whatever. Well, thankfully, that earwig has moved on to somebody else. It's no longer pestering me. This one is much brighter, and I think maybe even a little too bright. So I'm going to try and darken this area up a little bit, just a little bit, khaki it up so it doesn't out bright the other one so much. Okay, cleaning my brush on the Carhartt. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of blocked out, but I spend a lot of time doing this, dipping in the water, cleaning the brush off. Again, we can make this one a different kind of a tree if we want to. I didn't do it on the original, but you might make, let's see here. No, I'm going to keep it the same. So I'm going to go back with the cad yellow in my mix, make it go back the other direction. If you don't have to keep going back and forth. If you have a large palette with a lot of wells, I'm traveling, I have this small situation going here, so I keep going back and forth. But if you have a larger palette and you're permanently based somewhere, you can just mix these colors in large quantities once, and then you don't have to keep doing what I'm doing and going back and forth with them. You would have more consistency, presumably. And I'm going to go a little darker again. Make some kind of a shadow color here. When you do these things, you don't have to copy mine verbatim. You can make little things of your own. You could change it could be just that I give you an idea. You could be making, change up the design a little bit. Take out some of the trees, put some other trees in. Back again. I'm going to try and speed this up a little bit because I'm taking a little bit of time here. So I am going to mix a bigger batch of the lighter, the brighter green, more lemon yellow. Oddly enough, though, it's a cool green. Lemon yellow is a cooler green than, say, the cadmium yellow. And I'm just going to go quickly here, putting a little bit of this green, all my lefts all at one time on this side. I hope it's not breaking up too much this time. We've done the best we can with the Wi-Fi here. Oddly, we have it's a funny thing, when you set up the antenna for the Starlink, there's a program, you have an app and there's a program and it tells you to align the thing. So there's over 6,000 Starlink satellites in the sky. And you don't have to only put the sky holes that you drew in. You can obviously put some more sky holes. Um, so then you set the thing up and then you wait a few minutes and it calibrates and it tells you which direction to aim is the best. But supposedly it looks around for which is the best way to aim your antenna to get the thing. But every time at this location, it has told me to aim the antenna at a tree that's right there. And I don't understand that at all, but that's what it tells me. There's a lot of things I don't understand on this planet. That is one of them. I got that a little too dark, I think. So I'm going to put a little sap green in it. So that my shadows, you can vary your shadows. Some people, if you have a little bit of purple, you could throw a little bit of purple in these tree shadows. Looks pretty cool. Hope I didn't start that earwig again by mentioning it. I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add lib here. Just put a little bit more in a couple areas down here, like the bush, like the tree is connected down here. That paint is too wet. Needs to be a little darker, but less moisture. And maybe I'll do the same thing here. So it's not just a perfect flat bottom. And I'll do a little bit of that kind of thing over here, a little bit darker. We just got back a couple days ago from Friday Island, if any of you know where that is. I'm sure a lot of you do. Comment in the comments as this video sits there on YouTube if you have been to Friday Island. What do you think of the place? We had a great time there. I have got so much moisture on this thing, I don't think it's ever going to dry.
Friday Harbor.
Oh, Friday Harbor. That's it. Friday. It's not Friday Island. It's Friday Harbor. Sherry helps me out. She's inside the trailer following along. It's Friday Harbor in the San Juan Islands. These days I need someone to keep an eye on me. I might just run off and run amok. Well, probably I do, and I just don't notice already. All right, let's put some bushes back here as soon as you get your trees in there. Just put some bushes back there, and I'm going to purposely make them lighter, bluer. I think I may even take some of this green out of my palette because it's just a little too dark for what I want. You can change up the color a little bit if you want to, but I can't change it too much, at least not toward in the direction that I want to, because I used lemon yellow in my trees a lot. I could have used more cad yellow in the trees and then gone with lemon yellow and ultramarine blue in the background there. I also have this teal. I might play with a little teal in my mix for those bushes back there. And I want that to be fairly light material, paint, not very dark. Don't worry if it doesn't separate too much from your grass. We're going to come back with the shadows here in a while, and you'll be able to separate your bushes from the from the grass. I'm trying to put little bits of light on some of the bushes by taking out some of the material and making them a little bit lighter on the top. While that's working and hopefully drying just a little bit, let's go ahead and work on a little bit of the put in that path or road or whatever you want it to be in there. I'm going to just use a base of the burnt sienna, and that road, I don't want it to blend too much with the grass. It can blend a little bit if your grass is still damp, but you don't want it to blend too much up here. So I'm going to make that pretty thin material up there. And you do want the road to go, but you can see in the distance, you wouldn't see much of the road out here. It would just be little bits and pieces that were poking through the grass there. As you do this, you might put a little bit of something else in there, a little dark. You can make footprints if you want. You can dry brush it. I'm taking a little bit of burnt umber, making some darker spots, areas in my path. Ah, the earwig, Sherry says. I guess everybody who looks will see that. The earwig's from First Wives, the movie First Wives. We had last night, Sherry and I, while we were on the island up there at Friday Harbor, while we were there in Friday Harbor, we were visiting, and they had an apple tree that they had some construction done, and during the construction, the contractors apparently knocked down an apple tree and they stood it back up, and then it fell down again. So, but it's an old growth apple tree and there's a lot of apples. So now the tree is kind of growing sideways and it's got tons of apple weight on the poor tree. So we gathered up half a grocery sack of apples because Sherry's going to make apple pie or cobbler, or maybe I'll make an apple pie. I haven't done any baking yet, and we've only recently figured out how to use this. Is a lot of you will laugh, but we've never used the convection part of the microwave convection oven in our trailer until recently. So now we're just baking and baking and baking because it's a lot of fun. These bushes, we want a very bluish, different from everything else green. Want it to lean to the blue side if you can, and not too dark. I happen to be fortunate in the fact that I have a little bit of this teal in my thing here. But you can use light ultramarine blue. You can mix it, make it a little greenish if you like. And I'm just going to put in a bush here that's not the same as everything else we've been doing. I'm not going to put it in there perfectly tightly. And I am going to dab it because, again, I have a little bit too thick a material on my brush. So I'm going to say it goes behind that tree and in front of this one. And maybe a few little things there. I'll put a similar bush over here. Maybe one on this side of the tree here. How about one right here? And I need a little something in here to tie them so they don't just touches a little bit over the road, over the path out there. Bush. One of our daughters had a boyfriend named Bush. Always thought that was a curious name. But then my name's kind of curious. My family came over here. My grandfather came over here when he was 10 years old, and his name was, his last name was Spitter. So that got changed because they were running into too much. They were getting teased too much. So that's how the Spader line, at least our line of the Spaders, came to be. At least that's what I was told. Lord knows. Do we ever really know? Okay, we're getting there. I'm going to switch to a liner. You can use a sharp, small brush if you like. This is a Princeton Heritage liner. It's a number 6. And I am going to take, this is another one of those things that you want it to come out really lightly at first. So I've got a little burnt sienna and a little yellow ochre mixed. And our trees uh, are still just a little damp. I'll give you a minute or two to work on yours. I'm going to put a dab or two there. Just get rid of those white spots. If any of you'd like to go further with your work, Andrew Wyeth is a great one to study. Winslow Homer, those are some guys that really can help you get way more serious than what we're doing here. Of course, they're both they're both passed away, but there's a lot of literature out there with their work in it that you can try to mimic. It's a great way to practice and get better is to mimic the work of the better artists. So why was the math book sad? Any ideas? Math book was sad because it had too many problems. I haven't used mine much, but if you have scraps, a lot of times what I do is if I have a painting like the one we're doing, that doesn't come out the way I want it and I don't intend to keep it, I cut it up and then I use the other side for test sheet. I haven't used my test sheet today, but it's a great idea. I could easily have used it to, for instance, match these greens, so this tree looked more like this tree and things like that. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm going to put a little more red in a couple spots here, like it's just about to turn a little bit fallish. Because right here where we are, it's just about to turn fall. Some leaves are starting to fall. There's leaves on the ground of a few of the kinds of trees. Okay, let's move on. We're going to take that yellow ochre and some burnt sienna. Those are the lighter brown of yours and the darkest of the three yellows. And I'm going to start trying to put some browns on the trees. Just a light coat because, and if you really want, if you were doing a bit larger painting or if you really want to go through it, you can leave some whites there where you can put in some grass later that show up so you can do some negative painting, right? Where you leave that, you paint around what would be a grass, a leaf, a grass blade, or a plant blade, or you know, something going in there. You can, if you happen to bump across this video after it's up there, I would appreciate it if you give me a like and subscribe. You don't have to watch them, although I wish you would. Uh, they will get a lot better as we get on, as we get going. We'll get an introduction hook to the thing, and the quality of the Wi-Fi will improve. Give me just a second here. I think the dog wants in the house, and I need the drying time anyway, or in the trailer, not in the house. At this stage, Sherry and I are on the beginning of the fourth month. We just started the fourth month of living in it. We're not living it. We have a house, but we do daydream about it, though. I'll tell you. Anyway, we've been in this little trailer now over 3 months on this trip. We have seen so many fun, exciting things. It's been an amazing trip we've seen. Been over a big portion of the west, well, all up and down the west coast, but certainly we have not seen everything though. There's a man, there is so much to do on the west coast. It's amazing. So many things to see and do. Too bad we all only have one life. There we go. So now we've got some kind of color on there. You might put a little bit of little things every once in a while out in the world here. These paintings are small and we're not trying to put a lot of detail. We're just trying to indicate things. Now, while that's drying up, I'm going to take some burnt umber mixed with just a touch of, you can take the burnt umber without it. Let's do that. Just take some burnt umber here because it'll get really dark too fast. Just take and go along the right edge of your trees. Remember, the sun is coming from the left. Up here under the where the foliage is, you can cover that area and make it kind of dark. And then the branches, you want the bottom of the branches. And you can just kind of let that meld with the color that you just put on there. Just put it right on the edge. And let that melt in, oops, to your color. And that leaves a dark side and a light side. Some of this is on the edge of smaller than I can see. I'm sure some of you are that way as well with your, my glasses just don't work that well anymore. But it's one of those things. I was at the doctor the other day and asking him about some problems, that I have. And I was telling him, I may have mentioned this before. I was telling him, no, I don't really care to take the pills anymore. Is there other remedies like surgery and things like that? And he said, no. He said, the real problem is you've just lived too long. I think I mentioned that the other day. I thought it was hilarious because he's my age. I think he's retired now. We heard that we were going to lose our doctor because he was going to retire. How's everybody doing? You getting there? There are times when you wish your painting would dry faster and times when you wish it would dry slower. Mm. Tea is good. Tea is good. I'm going to take a little bit of that darker bush color that I had and just put in some kind of bottoms to the bushes here, these bushes out there. Someone's walking by out there, maybe a little darker on the right hand side. The bushes in the background, though, you don't want them to be as dark as the bushes in the foreground, as the things in the foreground. They've got maybe some atmospheric perspective. Sometimes it depends on the lighting situation. There's a whole lot to study. Morning light, evening light, light that's semi overhead, distance, aerial perspective. How the light is affecting things in the distance. Okay, let's take a little teeny bit. I'm going to take an even smaller brush just because I happen to have one with me, which I didn't bring a lot. I would have liked to have brought a lot more brushes. Take some of that same dark tree mixture and just put in a couple of little indications of branches up here. You can even put some that aren't in a sky hole. Try and make them make sense. Like this one might have a little bit of the trunk going through there. And this one as well. Try and do some sketches, if you are enjoying these things, if you have the opportunity, look out your window, sketch your front yard, sketch the trees in the neighbor's yard. They don't have to be perfect, just a little bit of loose kind of a thing, and you learn a lot by doing it. By doing that, I'm going to make a kind of a pretty dark ultramarine burnt umber for a shadow here. You can, if you don't have those two colors, you can use a little bit of ultramarine red, cadmium red, ultramarine blue, cadmium red, and cad yellow medium or cad yellow dark. You can mix different reds, blues, and darker yellows to make a shadow color. So I'm going to start adding some darks in here because I'm running out of time. And putting some darks at the bottom of my bushes here. And remember, these trees might have a little bit of a real dark on one side. And some dark shadow coming down. This tree's shadow might not fall on the top of that, so I'm not going to cover it there. Put some shadow there and connect these two down here. And just start throwing in some shadow that comes from the bottom of the tree. We don't want to bury everything. So we're not trying to be, in this little sketch, totally literal with the shadows, because it would be broken up here, because the branches of a tree, there would be light coming through it here and there. So you leave some little light sky holes. A little bit, same thing down there, a little bit there. I would have waited till mine dried a little more before I did this usually, but I think we're going to run out of time. And back here, we can come back in and put a little bit more dark under here. Remember, these are way in the distance, so they don't have to have much detail to them. I don't know if you can hear it. This campground, we usually pick these campgrounds, or Sherry does. She does all the scheduling. And They're called destinations, so they're very near things to do. But this one is a nice campground. We're really happy here. But it is near within 2 blocks, 3 blocks, maybe 3 blocks of the freeway. You hear the freeway noise. Interstate 5 is just to my right. I'm going to put a little bit of something in here. And a few dark spots here and there. Some little details in the path or road or whatever that thing is. And a little bit of shadow at the bottom of these bushes. Now, if you have some gouache, which we don't, you can add, for those of you who want to have fun with it or go a little further, this works fine the way it is. But if you have gouache, like some yellow ochre or some um, cadmium yellow or something like that, you can come along this edge and put in some nice little grasses on the edge of the path, but it's really not necessary. I am going to go around with a little bit of color and just get rid of a few of the white spots that I left in there. I do a lot of that because I work in ink. A lot of times I will go back once this dries and put in more uh, movement in things, put a little bit of stuff in here. Mine's too wet to really do it. I'm just showing you what the kinds of things I would do. It's come back with a little bit of ink in some of these areas here, just to give it some richness. All right, I think that's about as good as we're going to get it this time. Uh, let's see. Here is the original. A little bit lighter grass, a little bit darker shadows. I did put some purple in the original. And there's the one we just did. Boom, 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 boom. Hopefully you got something done there. Appreciate you showing up. And let's see here. I'm going to. Oh, I know what we didn't do. Let's do this. If you have a camera ready, get your camera ready. And I will put this large sketch up on top so you can take a picture of the sketch. Take a picture of that, and then you can try it again at your leisure somewhere else. Use your phone. Give you a moment or two. Appreciate you coming. Be sure to like and subscribe. It's going to take that kind of thing for me to ever get this to cover up James Spader. When you Google Michael Spader, it still comes up as James Spader. So, hey, hope you got something on your thing. Stay happy. Keep sketching. And get ready to vote. We don't do politics on this one, but you do need to vote. All right, folks. See you the next time. See you next Wednesday. Hopefully we move, I think, on next Tuesday. So I really don't know what the Wi-Fi situation is going to be like. So hope to see you again next Wednesday.